Hi EWB. I am really excited this time of year because it's a chance to sit back and think about the past 12 months and where we've come from, and also to anticipate just a couple of weeks from now when we'll all gather together and bring that passion that EWBers have together all at the national conference in Ottawa. And in thinking about this past year, I wanted to share a couple of ideas with you that we can all reflect upon together in the next few weeks leading up to conference. The first is an idea about inflection points. Now let's take a look at this graph. On the vertical axis we have more, and on the horizontal axis we have time. And really this graph plots EWB over the years. And when I look at this, and when I think back to the early days of EWB, a time when there were these incredible ideas, when people were coming together and dreaming about the future we could create and the organization we could create together, and then going about and doing it. These early days were incredibly exciting. There was tremendous growth in the number of people involved, in the money that we had, in the energy that we had. In addition to that, there was growth in our understanding of the change that we wanted to create and what that looked like. But around here in late 2008 and early 2009, we experienced our first inflection point as an organization. And I can tell you it was a bit of discomfort that I felt at that time and that other people felt as well. For me, it was that something about the energy of the organization just didn't feel the same. For others, I heard that we had grown so much that growth and doing more became the objective rather than what we actually were trying to accomplish at the end of the day. And so in fairly dramatic fashion, we stood up on the stage in front of 650 EWBers, and we all together got rid of our first mission statement. And really that created the next phase of the organization's history from 2009 to 2010, where what we were doing was operating within this ambiguity, increasing our smarts, increasing our understanding, increasing our credibility, certainly increasing our influence and impact, but really not growing so much in the traditional sense of the organization. And that led to what I think has been the second inflection point in this organization's history, which we felt over this past year. And it's an inflection point that was driven not just by new ideas and by growth, but really of a different way of doing things and a greater level of impact. And just as the previous inflection point back here had discomfort, this inflection point has also had discomfort. And we're great at recognizing failure within this organization. And it's really important for us to be able to admit that so that we can learn and move forward. But when I look at this past year, and I look at this inflection point, one of the things that I'm extremely proud of and excited about is the tremendous successes that we've had together across the organization. And successes that are of a fundamentally different nature than I think of any of the ones that we've had in the past. When I think about the successes in EWB over the past year, I'm really proud. I'm proud of the fact that our water and sanitation team in Malawi is working at multiple levels with different people, whether it's from districts all the way up to the national government, to actually change the way the whole system works. I'm proud of the fact that chapter members and city network members and people who are part of EWB's network across the country worked with MPs, they worked with the public, they got media stories, they did events to be able to actually create and bring about this change in Canada's policies to have Canada signing on to the International Aid Transparency Initiative. I'm proud of the types of successes our network has had, whether it's My Fair Valentine or running incredible global engineering events and curriculum pieces within various different parts of universities. Those to me are bringing about a fundamental change in how we do what we do. And I combine those successes with some of the things that we've been able to achieve in terms of bringing resources into this organization. We grew 50% this year in the revenue And that happened everywhere in the organization, from chapters running incredible events to the run-to-end poverty exceeding $100,000 to us getting new donations into the office that were much larger than any we'd gotten in the past. All of these pieces allowed us to have more resources to be able to drive more change. And these successes and the approach behind those successes, plus the resources, really accelerated us through that inflection point that we just had and set a really exciting slope for the future of the change that we can create together. Which brings me to the second idea that I wanted to talk to you about today. Now, this idea is captured in a single word: supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. You're probably thinking to yourself, has George lost his mind? Why is he talking about Mary Poppins in the context of Engineers Without Borders and accelerating Africa's development? Well, I couldn't help myself when I was watching the play just a few days ago to think about the fact that Mary Poppins was really an entire play about systemic change. Now let me explain. Here's this outsider, this nanny, coming into this family that is highly dysfunctional. And she's trying to bring about a change that is permanent and lasting. And she does so not by just standing up there and pedantically delivering message after message, but by actually changing the relationships between the various different pieces of that system, between husband and wife, between father and kids, how they relate to one another, what they value, and how that entire family relates to the outside world. And she uses a variety of different tools during the play. She creates these wonderful, creative experiences where people are able to discover the ideas on their own. She facilitates and creates safe environments for people to explore and discuss things, to be vulnerable with one another. She delivers lessons straight up, hard-headed when she needs to, in honest truth. And in fact, she even created a word to be able to put out a policy, if you want to call it that, that was her own, that actually captured the spirit of the change that she wanted to bring about. But what was truly amazing about the play for me, and what truly captured this idea of systemic change, is that Mary Poppins really knew her role. In the last scene of the play, she, in an almost sad way, says that she has to leave. And she knows that she has to leave because for that change to be really and truly permanent, she knows she can't be a part of it, even though she loves the family very much. And so she is able to leave that permanent change behind. And I can't think of a better analogy for the systemic change that we're trying to drive in both Africa and Canada. We're trying to change those relationships between actors. And you can see that and learn that in the various videos that our team leaders have put together that are on this conference website, that will allow you to dive into the systems and the boundaries of those systems and the relationships between the actors and the way that we are trying to actually influence those relationships over time. And if there's just two things that you can fit in between turkey and sledding and ice hockey and reading over the next couple of weeks of your holiday break, I would suggest it is, first, watching those videos. They're only a few minutes each, and they'll allow you to dive into the assumptions and hypotheses behind the various teams, both in Canada and in Africa. The second is that I hope you'll be able to spend some time with EWB's Vision 2020 for the next 10 years. Because that vision has a lot to it. It has the idea of systemic change, but there's a lot more there. So spend time dreaming about what this vision allows to be possible in the next 10 years. What world we can achieve in 2020 because of this vision. What inspires you about that? What role you can take in bringing it about, both now and in the future with the organization. And so spend some time asking those questions about that vision. And I'll leave it there. Remember those two ideas, that we have this incredible inflection point that we've gone through as an organization, that has created some wonderful successes this past year. But those successes will only be able to be continued for us to be able to capture the ambition that we have if we embrace some important changes, one of them being really thinking about and putting at the heart of our work this idea of systemic change, which connects all of our work in Canada with our work in Africa. And as you do that, and as you're enjoying the holidays, be sure to be thankful for everything you have, the relationships in your life. I know I will. And take that energy and that hopefulness and bring it to conference like you always do. And I'll see you there.